Hey, Filipinos! So welcome back to Favorite Friday. For the second case for this week, we are going back to the Bronx, New York. I know lately I've been uploading like a lot of shorts videos, and I've been counting those my like 3 videos a week because technically they aren't like 3 cases. So in my mind, they do count at least. However, of course, I thought it would be good to come back to at least one long-term video and kind of see how that goes. So because people I noticed like my most viewed videos, they tend to be longer form. So if you like long form, definitely know. If you prefer the short form term videos, definitely know. And so with that being said, I'm Quit Rambling, give us publicly known. Shout out to the first case, Evil Intentions, because that channel is how I actually found out about this case. And let's go get started. So we're going to start with Adam. Adam Mann was apparently born on February 20th, 1985, to his mother, Michelle, and his father, Rufus Chisum. Apparently, Michelle's mother had actually died while she was a child because apparently she was trying to stab another woman and wound up falling through a 6-story window. Obviously, falling through 6 stories is also going to cause your death in most cases. So she died from that. She winds up going to the system. She gets adopted by a man. The man's not publicly named. She, of course, gets withdrawn from the home once she makes claims that this man apparently had raped her. Whether this actually happened, I don't have confirmation on that. But then eventually she does basically get put back into that same house. So I guess like before Adam was even born, there was a point where he had older siblings and his older siblings had actually removed from the home. Because remember, like I said, Adam was born in February of 1985. And so in June of 1984, which is the year before, his siblings, I guess, get removed from the home. And there would be a caseworker that was actually willing to go to court to testify about the abuse that he saw. And apparently there would be a man by the name of George Medina who basically told him to mind his business, stay out of it. So Michelle, the mom, originally, apparently she was actually going to plead guilty to excessive corporal punishment, but then the charges somehow get reduced to neglect. Remember, like I said, she's pregnant with Adam at this point. She apparently gives birth to Adam in February 1985. Like I said, they keep him in the hospital under like a protective watch because, your mom's got a history of abusing kids. And understandably, they didn't want the same thing happen to Adam. And then one of his siblings, it was the records I could find, says that apparently he came in for a broken leg. She gives a classic, oh, he fell off the bed. Another kid comes in with a broken, apparently, arm and wrist. Doesn't say what excuse Michelle gave for that. But obviously the kids get taken away. She requests for custody back of said kids. And they say you can have the kids back, but you have to go under this program to prove that you are a changed person. And so that program apparently was called the New York Foundling Center. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'll put the word on the screen. Hopefully you can figure it out. And basically they were told to stay there for a year because basically work this out for a year and then to go to like a shelter, like a homeless shelter, because they claimed they had nowhere else to go. So then Rufus, who apparently is the father of Adam, he apparently would move in to wherever they were living at. And of course, a worker would come forward to say these kids are living in unsafe conditions. So on October 2nd, 1986, apparently there was a woman by the name of Mary Newman who apparently had called the center where they're supposed to be getting help at to get reunited. She calls them basically saying no further action is needed. I've already visited the house. Everything looks good, right? So then apparently there was a sister of Rufus's who would later come forward and say she saw Adam looking different and crying and in the corner. And so then, of course, she asked the mother, Michelle, like, what's going on? Like, why is he look like this? And then, of course, she basically says he stole food from the fridge. And then Michelle apparently had trouble potty training Adam. So she apparently was beating and starving him as punishment for this. Like I said, there's other kids in the house. So apparently whenever they need to go to the hospital because of how bad they were being beat, she was pretending that they were Adam. Because I guess, like, Adam, I want to assume Adam probably had some sort of insurance. So unless they came out of their pocket. But, of course, I cannot confirm that. So that's just speculation on my part. And she only told the caseworkers that were still coming by about the less severe injury. Caseworkers eventually actually stopped coming to the house altogether. And there would be a sibling who was not named, who apparently their leg got broken, even told hospital staff who were mandated reporters that Michelle did it. However, that child apparently still left with Michelle. And of course, that child was punished after they got back home. So on the fateful day of March 5th, 1990, Adam apparently is asleep when Rufus comes in claiming that Adam apparently stole some snacks. Like I said, they're over starving him. And so obviously they're going to use like pretty much any excuse to punish him. And so that beating was actually said to have lasted a good hour. Adam apparently had been bound and then hung up by a coat rack while Rufus apparently, like I said, of course, was beating him. His brothers were witnesses to this said beating. Then, of course, eventually once he realized that Adam was not responding, it says somebody winds up going over to a neighbor's house to call police like for help. Adam was, of course, rushed to the hospital, and he sadly winds up dying there. So Rufus obviously gets arrested for this. Michelle does not get arrested immediately, but they eventually realize that Michelle was involved in the abuse of the other kids. So while she was making funeral arrangements for Adam, she gets arrested for his death. And apparently one of the brothers would later apparently come out and say he actually tried to run into traffic so that way he could also be dead, so that way he could be in heaven with Adam. So then, of course, you can imagine, in a lot of these child death cases, these people are getting like really short sentences. So Michelle wasn't getting sentenced, released. I couldn't find how long Michelle had been sentenced, but she got released in 1994. Rufus apparently had been sentenced to 7 to 14 years. And like I said, this happened in the 90s, so you already know he's since been released. And then apparently Adam apparently had a brother by the name of Peter, who he lived to see adulthood, but he sadly went down May 20th, 2023 at the age of 42. And allegedly the cause of death was suicide, according to Michelle, who apparently posted it on Facebook. A GoFundMe was raised, of course, by Michelle of all people, and five grand was raised for that. But like I said, yeah, that's the case of the murder of Adam Mann. So like I said, if you knew of this case already, definitely know down below. If there's any other cases you think from the Bronx I should cover that where they're not as well talked about, definitely let me know. And so with that being said, I cover favorite horror 2 times a week. Subscribe for more females. I'll see you guys next one. Bye.